are some words which are present in the story which I would like to tell you. Sausage means finely minced meat stuffed into long cylindrical cases and divided into small lengths by twisting or trying. Like if pieces of meat are made and they are put in a stick and then they are rolled over in order to you can say make them tasty. Rheumy means watery discharge, like a mucus coming out of the eyes. And listless means lacking energy, having no energy. Lumbago is a muscular pain at the lower part of the back. And surgery is a place where a doctor, a veterinary doctor, a dentist, they treat their patients. Right? So these were the important words that were important because lumbago was a disease by which the gardener was suffering, due to which the ring game could not be played with the dog. And then we are seeing surgery. He carried the dog, Mr. Harriot carried the dog with him to the surgery where he was going to treat this dog. And sausage means meat. You can say a well-cooked meat piece, right? And rheumy means that mucousy secretion coming out from the eyes. Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at the chapter A Triumph of Surgery, which is there in Footprints Without Feet in class 10 CBSE. This story is about a dog Tricky who had become so much fat that Mrs. Pomfrey had not taken care of him so much good. She had given him a lot of stuff in such a way that he had become so much fat, and due to which Mr. Harriot was quite angry. So let's see what happens in the story. I was really worried about Tricky at this time. I had pulled up my car when I saw him in the street with his mistress, and I was shocked at his appearance. Now here Mr. Harriot was in his car when he saw Tricky along with his mistress who had owned that dog, and he stopped the car immediately seeing the condition of Tricky. He had become hugely fat, like a bloated sausage with a leg at each corner. He had become so much fat as if it looked like a piece of meat having some sausages along it and having legs on both the sides. That means he was so much bloated, he became so much fat. His eyes bloodshot and rheumy, and his eyes were having redness so much in his eyes, and rheumy means it was like having so much of you can say water in his eyes. Stared straight ahead and his tongue lolled from his jaws. And he was looking so much with her staring eyes everywhere, wherever he was going. And his tongue was coming out along with his jaws. They were lolling out. That means they were just rolling out. His tongue was rolling out. It seemed as if he was panting from inside. So looking at this condition, immediately Mr. Harriot, he stopped his car. So that means his eyes were quite red, having a lot of liquid in them. That means like a mucus type. Mrs. Pomfrey hastened to explain. He was so listless, Mr. Harriot. He seemed to have no energy. Now immediately Mrs. Pomfrey saw that he had stopped his car, so she hurried to him immediately and said that Mr. Harriot, actually he was so much lazy. Listless means lazy, and he had no energy nowadays. I thought he must be suffering from malnutrition. So when I saw that he was having this type of health, I thought that he is suffering from malnutrition. So I started giving him some extra food along with the food that he used to have. Some malt, cod liver oil, and a bowl of Horlicks. So he says that she says that I used to give him cod liver oil, bowl of Horlicks, and some malt at night to make him sleep. Nothing much really. So he said that at night I used to give him this much, and apart from this, nothing extra I have given him. And did you cut down on sweet things as I told you? Mr. Harriot asked her. that he had given her some suggestion that she should not give him so much of sweets. So had she cut down? Oh, I did for a bit, but he seemed to be so weak I had to relent. He does love cream cakes and chocolates, so I can't bear to refuse him. She said that for a few days I did it, but when I saw that he was growing too weak, I could not stop myself and I had to give him the sweets. And he loves cream biscuits, cream cakes, and chocolates. So I used to give him. I could not stop myself from giving him that. I looked down again at the little dog. There was a trouble. Tricky's only fault was greed. He had never been known to refuse food. He would tackle a meal at any hour of the day or night, and I wondered about all things Mrs. Pumphrey hadn't mentioned. Now, Mr. Harriot, he looked at the dog very carefully, and the only fault of the dog was that he was quite greedy. Whenever, every hour, if you gave him some meal, he used to take it. He didn't refuse at any hour of the day. Even if you provide him some meal every hour, he used to eat it up. So this was the only fault of the dog, and so Mr. Harriot was thinking about what other things she must have been giving the dog, which she has not yet mentioned. Are you giving him plenty of exercise? Then he asks her that is he doing a plenty of exercise? Are you instructing him to do some exercise? Well, he has little walks with me, as you can see, but Hodgkin, the gardener, has been down with lumbago, so there has been no ring throwing lately. She says that as you can see, I am going with him for a walk. So similar type of walks I do with him, and that ring exercise was a responsibility of the gardener. But the gardener Hodgkin is down with lumbago. He is having some ailment, and so nowadays ring exercise has been stopped. I try to sound severe. Now I really mean this. If you don't cut his food right down and give him more exercise, he is going to be really ill. You must harden your heart and keep him on a very strict diet. Now Mr. Harriot said that this is my last warning. He became severe in his voice, and he said that this is my last warning that I am giving to you, that if you do not take care of him properly, he will really fall ill. You should give him a proper exercise and cut down whatever I had instructed you. Cut down on those foods. And you must not be very much sympathetic with him. You should harden your heart and follow a strict diet as I have told you. Mrs. Pumphrey wrung her hands. Oh, I will, Mr. Harriot. I am sure you are right, but it is so difficult, so very difficult. She set off, head down along the road, as if determined to put the new regime into practice immediately. Mrs. Pumphrey, she wrung her hands. Oh, Mr. Harriot, I'll do it, I'll do it. And then she says that, well, saying is easy, but implementing is very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And then she went away along with her dog, but she had her head hung down, as if she was thinking and making a determination that she will follow whatever Mr. Harriot has told. I watched their progress with growing concern. Tricky was tottering along in his little tweed coat. He had a whole wardrobe of these coats for the cold weather and a raincoat for the wet days. He struggled on, drooping in his harness. I thought it wouldn't be long before I heard from Mrs. Pumphrey. Now, when they were walking away, Mrs. Pumphrey and the dog, Mr. Harriot was looking at their stance, how they were walking. And then he was quite concerned about the dog, how he was moving. He was tottering. That means he was staggering in his walk, wearing that little tweed coat, as if he was feeling quite uncomfortable in that coat. Although the dog had a whole wardrobe of such tweed coats and some other coats, raincoats for the wet days. But this time it seemed as if he was drooping, his head was drooping on the harness, that patta as we say in Hindi, that patta or the belt which was around his neck. So he was drooping on that on one side, as if he was feeling sluggish and was quite feeling ill from inside. Now he was thinking, Mr. Harriot, that it wouldn't be long if I hear from Mrs. Pumphrey about the illness of the dog. The expected call came within a few days. Mrs. Pumphrey was distraught. Tricky would eat nothing, refused even his favorite dishes, and besides, he had bouts of vomiting. He spent all his time lying on a rug, panting. Didn't want to go for walks, didn't want to do anything. After a few days, Mrs. Pumphrey gave him a call, gave Mr. Harriot a call, and she told him that now he is not eating anything. The dog is not eating anything, and despite that, he is also having a huge amount of vomiting also, and he doesn't want to eat anything. He is just sitting all day on a rug and panting. Half रहा है वो पूरे दिन, and plus he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to go out for a walk. He doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to do anything. I had made my plans in advance. The only way was to get Tricky out of the house for a period. I suggested that he be hospitalized for about a fortnight to be kept under observation. Now, Mr. Harriot had already made a plan in advance that if such a news comes, then what he will do. He talked to Mrs. Pumphrey that the dog has to be admitted to a hospital for a fortnight. That means around 15 days, and that he would be kept under observation. The poor lady almost swooned. She was sure he would pine and die if he did not see her every day. Now this lady was quite upset because she knew that if the dog doesn't see her, then he would die if he doesn't see her every day. But I took a firm line. Tricky was very ill, and this was the only way to save him. In fact, I thought it best to take him without delay, and followed by Mrs. Pumphrey's wailings, I marched out to the car carrying the little dog wrapped in a blanket. Now, Mr. Harriot was determined. He didn't want to listen to whatever Mrs. Pumphrey was saying. He was determined, and he said, "This is the only way to save your dog." So he took the dog along with him, and Mrs. Pumphrey was wailing. She was crying in a loud voice. He could hear that voice, but he took the dog in his hands, wrapped in a blanket, and moved towards his car. The entire staff was roused, and maids rushed in and out, bringing his day bed, his night bed, favorite cushions, toys and rubber rings, breakfast bowl, lunch bowl, supper bowl. Realizing that my car would never hold all the stuff, I started to drive away. As I moved off, Mrs. Pumphrey, with a despairing cry, threw an armful of the little coals through the window. I looked in the mirror before I turned the corner of the drive. Everybody was in tears. Now the entire staff of the house, all the maids and all, they all rushed towards the car, carrying the lunch bowl, the breakfast bowl of the dog, the favorite toys of the dog, all that he used to play with, the rubber rings, everything. They were coming, and they were trying to put into the car. And since Mr. Harriot knew that all these things would not fit in his car, so he drove away. And he saw that Mrs. Pumphrey had thrown a handful of tweed coats from her window towards the car so that the dog could wear it. And he saw through the rear view mirror that everybody was in tears left behind him. Out on the road, I glanced down at the pathetic little animal gasping on the seat by my side. I patted the head, and Tricky made a brave effort to wag his tail. "Poor old lad," I said, "you haven't had a kick in you, but I think I know a cure for you." Now, when they were out of the bungalow of Mrs. Pumphrey, and they were on the road in the car, then this Mr. Harriot, he saw the little thing, the little dog sitting beside him. He patted his head with a, you can say, love, and the dog tried to wag his tail but couldn't because he was so weak. So he said that, "I know that you don't even have a kick to do, but I know a way how to get back your energy." At the surgery, the household dogs surged around me. Tricky looked down at the noisy pack with dull eyes, and when put down, lay motionless on the carpet. The other dogs, after sniffing around him for a few seconds, decided he was an uninteresting object and ignored him. So at the surgery means there was a, you can say, house for dogs. There he brought the dog. He kept the dog on the carpet. Other dogs who were present at the surgery, they all sniffed at Tricky, and they made rounds around him, and then they found that he was an uninteresting thing. So they ignored that dog. I made up a bed for him in a warm loose box next to the one where the other dogs slept. For 2 days I kept an eye on him, giving him no food but plenty of water. At the end of the second day, he started to show some interest in his surroundings, and on the third, he began to whimper when he heard the dogs in the yard. So what the Mr. Harrier did was he made a bed for this dog, Tricky, in a box which was lying beside the bed of the other dogs also. And he kept an eye on the dog, and for the whole day, the first day, he didn't give him any food but only water and water. So by the end of the second day, the dog started showing interest of the things around him, that what were the things, where was he. And then on the third day, he showed more signs of improvement and started to whimper. He made some strange sounds when he heard the other dogs around him. When I opened the door, Tricky trotted out and was immediately engulfed by Joe, the greyhound, and his friends. After rolling him over and thoroughly inspecting him, the dogs moved off down the garden. Tricky followed them, rolling slightly with his surplus fat. Now when Mr. Harriot, he opened the door, then he saw that Tricky tried to come out of the box. Trotted means he was fat. Although he was fat, so he tried to walk slowly. And immediately he was surrounded by Joe, who was a hound. Hound means a hunting dog. That dog, they tried to roll him and see him all around, that which type of dog is this. And then the dogs, they went out. Tricky also followed them, but he was walking very slowly because of the extra fat that he had in his body. Later that day, I was present at feeding time. I watched while Tristan slopped the food into the bowls. There was usual headlong rush, followed by sounds of high-speed eating. Every dog knew that if he fell behind the others, he was liable to have some competition for the last part of his meal. When they had finished, Tricky took a walk round the shining bowls, licking casually inside one or two of them. Next day, an extra bowl was put out for him, and I was pleased to see him jostling his way towards it. Now, at lunchtime, all the dogs were lined up, and there was a servant, Tristan, who served the food of the dogs in bowls, and all of them were sitting silently. Just the sound of the eating was coming, as if they were munching that food. And every dog knew that if he fell, every dog was competing with the other dog, that if I fell behind means if I fail in eating fast, then it would be a lot of competition to get up to the other dogs also. So all of them were eating with the high speed. Now when Mr. Harriot, he saw that Tricky had made his way towards those bowls, and all of them went off. He tried to lick whatever food was there left over in the bowls, and he saw that one or two bowls he could lick. So the other day, Mr. Harriot had kept an extra bowl for Tricky also, and he was happy to see that next day Tricky also made his way towards his bowl. From then on, his progress was rapid. He had no medicinal treatment of any kind, but all day he ran about with the dogs, joining in their friendly scrimmages. He discovered the joys of being bowled over, rammed on, and squashed every few minutes. He became an accepted member of the gang, an unlikely silky little object among the shaggy crew, fighting like a tiger for his share at meal times and hunting rats in the old hen house at night. He had never had such a time in his life. Now from that day onwards, Mr. Harriot could see the progress in the dog. This dog also found a very new world in front of him. in which he then joined the group of the dogs. He used to run all day along with them, and he found a joy that all the dogs were just, you can say, they were bowling him over, they rammed him with their feet, they used to, you can say, squash him every few minutes. So he enjoyed that all the dogs were playing with him, and all the dogs, they accepted him as their own member of the group. And he also used to do what? He used to compete with them for the meal, and at night he also joined them catching the rats from the hen house at night. So he had never seen such a time in his life, such an enjoyable time with other dogs, playing with them, doing some games and all. All the while, Mrs. Pumphrey hovers anxiously in the background, ringing a dozen times a day for the latest bulletins. I dodged the questions about whether his cushions were being turned regularly or his correct coat worn according to the weather, but I was able to tell her that the little fellow was out of danger and convulsing rapidly. While Mrs. Pumphrey, as it was her own dog, so she was very much worried. She used to call many times at this surgery house, trying to know the whereabouts of Tricky, and she used to ask him that is he getting proper food, are you changing his coats, is his bed being changed every day. She used to ask all these things about the neatness of the dog. But the author, this Mr. Harriot, he tried to refuse, but he tried to ignore those questions, but he used to only tell her that yes, the dog is now out of danger and he is progressing. The word convulsing seemed to do something to Mrs. Pumphrey. She started to bring round fresh eggs, 24 at a time, to build up Tricky's strength. For a happy period, my partners and I had 2 eggs each for breakfast. But when the bottles of wine began to arrive, the real possibilities of situation began to dawn on the household. Now, convulsing word, when the author said, then it means that Mrs. Pumphrey was quite delighted, and she used to send fresh eggs, 24 at a time, in order to build the strength of Tricky. Now here the other staff members and Mr. Harriot, he used to have eggs with them. They used to have eggs with them for breakfast. And now when she used to send the bottles of wine, then something different situation used to it dawned on Mr. Harriot. He was surprised to see the bottles of wine being sent. It was to enrich Tricky's blood. Lunch became a ceremonial occasion with 2 glasses of wine before and several during the meal. Now here she said that I am sending this wine in order to enrich the blood of Tricky. Now here Mr. Harriot along with other members, they used to have wine along with the meal and several after the meal. We could hardly believe it when the brandy came to put a final edge on Tricky's constitution. For a few nights the fine spirit was rolled around, inhaled and reverently drunk. They were days of deep content, starting well with extra egg in the morning, improved and sustained by the midday wine, and finishing luxuriously round the fire with the brandy. It was a temptation to keep Tricky on as a permanent guest. But I knew Mrs. Pumphrey was suffering, and after a fortnight felt compelled to phone and tell her that the little dog had recovered and was awaiting collection. Now what happened was when a brandy was sent in order to improve the condition of Tricky. So for a few nights when they used to give brandy to that little dog, he used to roll over after having that brandy. He used to inhale and he used to be drunk all day. And in the morning an extra egg was given to him in the breakfast. He improved in health. He sustained it, and in midday some wine was given to him. Now it was a temptation to keep Tricky on as a permanent guest. Actually these things were given to him so that he may remain there. It was agreed for him or a bribe for him that he should remain in that surgery house. Now, after 15 days, that fortnight had finished. Then they called Mrs. Pumphrey to tell that the dog is improving and she could collect him. Within minutes, about 30 feet of gleaming black metal drew up outside the surgery. The chauffeur opened the door, and I could just make out the figure of Mrs. Pumphrey, almost lost in the interior. Her hands were tightly clasped in front of her. Her lips trembled. "Oh, Mr. Harriot, do tell me the truth. Is he really better?" "Yes, he is fine. There is no need for you to get out of the car. I'll go and fetch him." Now, after a few minutes, car of Mrs. Pumphrey arrived at the surgery, and the chauffeur opened the black car. And as she was about to come out, then she asked, because Mr. Harriot reached towards the car. She asked Mr. Harriot that is he fine? How is he doing? How is Tricky doing? Then Mr. Harriot said that you don't have to worry, he's fine, and you don't have to come out of the car. I'll bring the dog over here. I walked through the house into the garden. A mass of dogs was hurtling around the lawn, and in their midst, ears flapping, tail waving, was a little golden figure of Tricky. In 2 weeks, he had been transformed into a little hard-muscled animal. He was keeping up well with the pack, stretching out in great bounds, his chest almost brushing the ground. Now, when he went inside to fetch the dog, he could see that this golden type of dog was amidst the other dogs who were playing. They were moving round in the garden. And in 2 weeks, he had become a very muscular and a strong dog. And he was keeping up well with the pack of the dogs. I carried him back along the passage to the front of the house. The chauffeur was still holding the car door open. When Tricky saw his mistress, he took off from my arms in a tremendous leap and sailed into Mrs. Pumphrey's lap. She gave a startled "ooh" and then had to defend him herself as he swarmed over her, licking her face and barking. Now, when he brought the dog from that pack of the dogs, when Tricky saw his mistress, he immediately leaped out of the arms of Mr. Harriot, and he jumped towards the lap of Mrs. Pumphrey. And she immediately was surprised and she gave a cry, "Ooh!" And the dog, he just tried to hug Mrs. Pumphrey. He kissed her, licked her face and barked. During the excitement, I helped the chauffeur to bring out the beds, toys, cushions, coats and bowls, none of which had been used. As the car moved away, Mrs. Pumphrey leaned out of the window. Tears shone in her eyes, her lips trembled. "Oh, Mr. Harriot," she cried. "How can I ever thank you? This is a triumph of surgery." Now, during that excitement when they both were meeting each other, till that time, Mr. Harriot, he tried to bring all those bowls, cushions, whatever could fit in his car. He brought all that with the help of the chauffeur and put inside the car. These things were never used for Tricky. And while the car was moving by, Mrs. Pumphrey, she looked out of the window and was shedding tears as if thanking Mr. Harriot that how could I ever thank you of such a great victory. And it is actually the victory of surgery, or the triumph of surgery. So this way, putting the dog into the surgery, the dog had improved a lot. And the very first day, Mr. Harriot had given only water to the dog. And the next day, the dog started showing interest towards the surroundings. And in the third day, he could hear the sound of the rest of the dogs and was eager to play with the other dogs. From the 4th or 5th day, he started also having the bowl of food along with the other dogs in the mess. So this way, little by little, as Mr. Harriot knew how to improve the health of the dog kept on improving. So hope this story is clear. And if you have understood it, you can press the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. One thing more that I have to make very clear in this story is that whatever things Mrs. Pumphrey used to send, like wine, brandy, eggs, for the dog, was not given to the dog. was eaten by the staff of the surgery and the doctor, Mr. Harriot himself. So Mr. Harriot here is a veterinary doctor, we can say, because this story is written by himself only. And this was actually a temptation or a bribe for these people to keep the dog permanently, and they had a desire, yes, the dog should remain here because we are getting so much of things from the mistress of that dog, right?